We're here back at the Fantasy Bar, 6 plays for you for Friday night in the NBA, including some of my favorite mid-range and value plays, some guys I think are vastly underpriced, some correlation plays with some games I am targeting, and of course, my favorite play of the night. Who we talking about? Belly up to the Fantasy Bar and find out. Welcome in, guys. Friday edition Beers Daily Fantasy Six-Pack. Good to be back here once again in the Fantasy Bar talking some NBA. Thank you, as always, for stopping by and checking out the video. Now, before we get into plays, a couple things. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, get notified when these videos are coming out, and make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. That is the tip jar here in the Fantasy Bar. And for all of your sports betting needs, head over to scoresandodds.com/beer. That link in the description of the video. Tons of information there, analytics, trends, histories, compare odds across all of the different sports books and premium picks to make your life easy. Go and check it out. Scoresandodds.com/beer. All right, let's get into the games here for tonight. Big slate of games, and we've narrowed it down to 6 of my favorite plays. Let's start at point guard, shooting guard, small forward, depending on your site. We're rolling NICKEIL Alexander-Walker of New Orleans. Now, we once again have questionable tags on both Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart. Neither of them practiced on Thursday, so likely out for both of these two. Even if one of them comes back, I still like NICKEIL Alexander-Walker here. Very cheap on DraftKings. And when you run the numbers with these two off the floor, big usage bump here, almost 6%. Team high 30.6% usage rate with those two off the floor. Again, wondering where we get these numbers, RotoGrinders Premium in our Court IQ tool, an invaluable tool in my opinion. You certainly want to add to your toolbox, and we will certainly have some opportunities for you to win some free RotoGrinders Premium here at the end of the video. But we saw the upside with NICKEIL Alexander-Walker. Went double-digit X on his salary. Number is so low on DraftKings at just 4,400. Gives you that same upside here once again tonight, even at 5,500 on FanDuel. Still in play over there, just too cheap, tons of upside. If both Ingram and Hart are back, we may have to reconsider this one. If one of them returns, like the play a lot. If they are both out, absolutely love this play with NICKEIL Alexander-Walker. All right, let's remain in the mid-range at shooting guard, small forward, with AMIR COFFEY of the Clippers. This guy's really starting to come on here. No Paul George once again for the Clippers. We know Kawhi Leonard remains out for this team, and Marcus Morris questionable here as well. And COFFEY has kind of picked up some of the offensive load here for this Clippers team. You start to think about who they have. Reggie Jackson's minutes are starting to dwindle, so it's really become COFFEY. Man, who we had the other night, had a decent game, and Luke Kennard, but COFFEY been the most consistent of the three here. He's in fact gone over 33 DraftKings points now in 6 of the last 10 games. In just the last 2, averaging over 40 DraftKings points a game. So we start looking at those numbers here. We're talking about a nice 7 to 8x return on this salary, and FanDuel even cheaper, under 5K over there. Miami, maybe without Jimmy Butler here tonight. That certainly will make the matchup that much easier, but they have struggled with shooting guards, bottom half of the league against that position. So AMIR COFFEY, too cheap. Price is not caught up to what he's been doing lately. Take advantage here tonight against the Miami Heat. All right, let's stay at shooting guard, small forward with our next play. That's Norman Powell of Portland. So the Blazers, once again, going to be without a few guys. We know Dame Lillard remains on the shelf, as well as Larry Nance Jr. Got the news the other day. Unfortunately, Nasir Little going to miss some time here for Portland, and Robert Covington questionable here for tonight. So a lot of guys out of the lineup. So let's go back to Court IQ, run the numbers here. When we do that, we see a very big usage bump here for Norman Powell, over 8% with these injuries here. What that leads to, team highs in both usage at almost 34% and fantasy points per minute at 1.18. So yes, higher than CJ McCollum. Yes, higher than Anthony Simons. And yes, higher than Yusuf Nurkic. All guys that are in play tonight. Norman Powell, my favorite Blazer here tonight on Friday night. All right, let's go to the other side of that game with some correlation with Houston, with point guard and small forward Kevin Porter Jr. We know KPJ, one of my favorites. You've seen him in the six-pack quite a lot here this season and last, but with good reason. Let's look at the recent form here. Been solid, been consistent, something we normally can't say with a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., but averaging 37 DraftKings points in the last 5 games, and the upside is what I really like here. You know, guys in the mid-range that can vastly outproduce their salaries, and he certainly gives us that 40, 50 point upside here in this matchup. Portland, 9th most fantasy points allowed to point guards. Playing small forward, nobody been worse than the Portland Trailblazers against that position. So Kevin Porter Jr., a lot of upside here in the mid-range. Love his ceiling in your GPPs. All right, let's go down low next with our center play, going right back to the well and BISMACK BIYOMBO of the Suns. So we already got the announcement, no DeAndre Ayton again tonight, no JaVale McGee, so BIYOMBO back in that starting lineup presumably, and we're going to go back to the well. No ho-hum performance for him for sure, but if you're playing cash games, he got you there. He got you the 5X that we are looking for, so I still think there's tons of room for upside here. My hope is people look at that number, they gravitate towards other centers thinking there is no upside. We know BIYOMBO has what it takes to get you 35, 40 fantasy points with his ability to hit the glass, score you 10 or 12 points, and block some shots. Minnesota, we know Karl Anthony Towns very good offensively, but defensively, they have allowed the 5th most fantasy points to this position. So BIYOMBO prices up a little bit, but I still think there's tons of room for upside here. Get him in those lineups tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play for Friday night. Before we do that, we want to continue our Beast of the Night contest. Free to play, easy to play, and we had the unfortunate James Harden situation the other night. So what we have done, we have awarded whoever voted the lowest fantasy points the other night for James Harden as the winner of that Beast of the Night contest. And for everybody else, we're going to add an additional winner here. So 2 winners for tonight. So the 2 closest votes to fantasy points for my favorite play of the night on FanDuel are going to win themselves each a free week of RotoGrinders Premium. Chance to get under the hood, check everything out behind the scenes. Board IQ, which we're always talking about, Lineup HQ, and that will cover all the major sports. Got some big NFL games going on this weekend. So wanted to give you guys a little additional prize for that little mix-up with James Harden and his late scratch the other night. So let's look at my favorite play for Friday night. You know him as the Beast of the Night. All right, Beast time. We're going to give you a guy on the higher end of things. We've saved you money, but not all the way up. We're going to make life easy on you here tonight. We're going shooting guard, small forward, power forward, depending again on your site. We're going with DEMAR DEROZAN of the Bulls, tonight's Beast of the Night. So DeRozan playing at a very high level, not only right now, but over the course of this season. I mean, got to be in the MVP conversation with some of the numbers that he is putting up for this upstart Chicago Bulls team. But recently, 4 straight games now of 46 DraftKings points or more. So you're really getting that consistency we are seeking in our cash games. Tournaments, the upside is there as well. Splits, something we don't talk a ton about here. Don't put a ton of stock in it, but something I found interesting here with DeRozan, been much more productive away from Chicago this season, averaging almost 4 points per game more on the road and almost 5 fantasy points per game. And you guys know I love me the narratives. First game back against his former team here in San Antonio. So you know DeRozan going to be fired up for this game. So checking a lot of boxes here for me tonight. DEMAR DEROZAN, easily my favorite play on the board in tonight's Beast of the Night. All right, guys, that'll do it with 6 of my favorite plays here in the NBA on Friday night. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the picks and the video. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, please hit me up in that comment section right below the video. Don't forget, 2 winners tonight. Fantasy points for DEMAR DEROZAN on FanDuel. The 2 closest guesses will each win a free week of RotoGrinders Premium. Again, a thank you to you guys for hanging out here in the Fantasy Bar. Make sure you've hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Head over to scoresandodds.com/beer for tons of great sports betting information. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Best of luck in the NBA tonight. We got an NFL betting video coming out later today as well, with 2 of my favorite bets for the divisional round, or for the conference championship round, I should say. So make sure you check that out, guys. But thank you once again for watching. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist.